Dungeons, one of the most rewarding but difficult skills in Hypixel Skyblock. In this video, I'll be guiding you through the entrance floor to floor 7 of the catacombs, giving you detailed gear guides and strategies on how to beat each floor. Before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into the video. What's up guys, it's me, Mugma HS, and in today's video I'm going to be guiding you through all the base floors of the catacombs, and for each class I'm going to be running down what gear you need, what cata level I recommend, and specific items or pets that might help you out. So let's get into it. So the first floor that you guys are going to be running is going to be the entrance floor. Now for the entrance floor, it only requires combat level 15, so really there is no real requirements to this floor. However guys, I recommend that you get basically any dragon armor that's melee oriented. Young dragon armor is decent. Let's see, superior you can, but superior is more expensive. I would recommend young, unstable, or strong dragon for the entrance floor. All of these sets are pretty good and they deal a lot of damage, and honestly just any weapon like an aspect of the dragons can do really good in entrance floor, but in my opinion you guys won't really need too much beyond that, as a lot of the times you probably are just going to be getting carried. So yeah, once you guys have ran entrance floor a couple times, gotten your cata level a bit up, honestly it doesn't really matter. I'd say around, you probably want cata like 3 or 4 for floor 1. It's really not that big of a deal, especially if you have dragon armor, but if you can, get it up to cata 3 or 4. And in floor 1, this is where your gear actually starts to matter, guys. So if you're playing on Iron Man, you probably won't have too much dungeon gear yet, but if you're playing on a normal profile and you can afford it, and if you're a mage, go for Bonzo Staff and Wise Dragon Armor with dark goggles. I think this is a pretty good setup. However, Wise Dragon Helmet might be better in some scenarios, so go full Wise with Bonzo Staff for your mage setup. And if you are like wanting to be a support class like a tank or a healer, you can get Protector Dragon Armor or the other Holy Dragon Armor if you want to be a support class. But aside from that, just keep your gear the same as entrance floor, and yeah, overall pretty easy. Alright, so floor 2, if we come over here, floor 2 is going to require catacomb skill level 3. Now, this is where you want to start getting a little bit more skill than what is required to actually enter the floor, because the requirements for these floors are like, they're alright, but most of these you're going to want about 3 to 4 levels higher than the requirement of that floor. So for floor 2, you guys are going to want catacomb skill level 6 to level 8, your current floor 1 gear, and honestly not too much will be changed going to floor 2. So yeah, if you guys are Iron Man and you are a mage, you can also pick up Bonzo Staff after floor 1, so that is pretty good. But aside from that, nothing really changes. Just try to like get your cata level up and get some good dungeon XP, and maybe even make some money from some good drops if you get any. Additionally, in floor 2, to make good money, you're going to want to look out for Scarf Studies, as they can make up to 500 to 600k per drop. So overall, really profitable. Run a couple floor 2s till you have a couple million in your bank, and yeah, I'd recommend you grind floor 2s out for a little while before going on to floor 3. Alright, so if you guys have made it to this section, you guys will be at floor 3. Now for gear, basically nothing changes besides if you are a mage or a tank slash healer, you guys can upgrade to the Mender Fedora and the Shadow Goggles. Now these are pretty good, but aside from that, your armor will stay the same, and most of your weapons will stay the same. And honestly, I would not recommend spending much time on floor 3, as floor 3 has no real profitable drops. So basically, my recommendation, grind your cata level up in floor 3, but don't really go for any drops. There's no real money to be made here. And yeah, get to floor 4 as soon as possible. Alright, so here's where the floors actually get difficult. Floor 4 of the catacombs, guys. Now floor 4 is widely known to be the hardest of the early floors, even harder than floors 5 and 6 in some cases. And honestly, floor 4 is where things really start to get difficult, especially if you're newer to the game. Now for floor 4, I'd recommend you have around cata 15 to 16. This should do you pretty well throughout the floor, and honestly anything above this is pretty unnecessary. And your guys' gear will also change a little bit. Now, this mainly is for damage dealing classes like Mage and Berserk, but guys, if we take a look if you guys are a mage, you will be wanting to get the Spirit Scepter. Okay, now if we look at this Spirit Scepter, guys, this is the best mage weapon up until floor 6 or 7. 19 million coins to be able to easily do everything on that floor. Additionally, guys, you can get Thorn Fragments for like 400 coins each and get a starred Spirit Scepter. I don't know what that's called, a fragged Spirit Scepter maybe, but you can easily get the upgraded version of the Spirit Scepter for basically free. The Spirit Scepter is the best, or one of the best mage weapons in the game, so I highly recommend you get it. But as I said, if you are a Berserk, you'll also be wanting to change your gear a little bit too, and my recommendation for this is the Bone Reaver. I see 26 million. You guys might be saying, oh, that's really expensive. I, on my Iron Man profile, used the upgrade of the Bone Reaver for floor 7, so it's very good. For Bone Reaver, you guys will need to play floor 4, get a Spirit Sword and Spirit Bones, but trust me, it's very good and can carry you easily up to floor 6. Aside from that, if you're any other class, floor 4 isn't too good, but maybe get a Spirit Bow. Actually, yeah, definitely get a Spirit Bow if you are an archer. I forgot to leave that in. Definitely get a Spirit Bow if you are an archer. But aside from that, no other real good drops, so just grind out your kata a little bit and try to get to floor 5. Alright, so as you guys can see here, floor 5 requires kata skill level 14. Now, my recommendation for this is Catacomb skill level 19 to 20, as floor 5 can be really challenging if you can't survive it too well. Now, up until now, if you guys have followed along, your armor should be any dragon armor plus a class-specific helmet if you are one of those special classes like major tank. But if you guys are following along, you guys will be in dragon armor, and this is where floor 5 comes in really handy with upgrading your armor. Now, if you're a normal profile player, whenever you get a floor 5 completion, immediately buy 3/4 Shadow Assassin if you are a Berserk, archer, or if you are a tank. I believe it can be useful for a clearing setup. Now, if you guys have 3/4 Shadow Assassin, it will make it much easier for you guys to survive. And I know I said that Berserk had some good upgrades last time, but if you guys are in floor 5, you can upgrade even further with a Shadow Fury or Livid Dagger. Both are decent options for Berserk, and we'll go ahead show them off here. They are quite expensive though, as Shadow Fury can cost around 49 million. But you can upgrade it, and it can be one of the best Berserk weapons in the game. And Livid Dagger, I would just recommend grinding out the completions for that. It's not too hard. But yeah, aside from that, no real like big things in floor 5 outside of that for gear upgrades. But floor 4 and floor 5 is where you can start making money. If you want to make money for floor 5, focus on getting Recombobulators and Shadow Furies. Those are the best drops in the entire floor, and from my experience, those two combined with the occasional Overload 1 book can make a good 8 to 10 million an hour. Anyways, let's get into floor 6. Alright guys, so floor 6 is going to be rather difficult, way more difficult than floor 5, so you guys will need to be prepared for this. My recommendation, Kata 24 minimum, and that is alongside, if you are a Berserk and you don't have a pet right now, or if you just have a bad or mid pet, pick up a Baby Yeti pet. If you're a mage, pick up a Blue Whale pet. These pets are essential to this floor, as the terracotta stage of the boss is very difficult. I'll explain this a bit later, but just know that you'll want these survivability pets, and put Rejuvenate 5 on your armor if you don't have it already. Now, as for gear upgrades, if you're an Iron Man player, you should have picked up a Shadow Fury or Livid Dagger on floor 5, and if you're a mage, hopefully you guys will still be able to survive a little bit, but if you guys are not Iron Man, just get one floor 6 completion and buy Necromancer Lord armor. Necromancer Lord armor is some of the best armor for mages. If we go to the Necromancer Lord, okay, there we go, Necromancer Lord armor. So all this is fairly rare, but it's fairly cheap as well, and it is probably one of the best mage armors in the game, as it gives you a slight bit of intelligence but a lot of survivability, and that's mainly what you want with floor 6. Now, as for Berserk, there's nothing too good on this floor that you can really get besides the Giant Sword. Giant Sword is a 1 in 1,000 drop. If you get it, make sure to claim it, as if you're not a Berserk, it can give you a ton of money. As for the other classes, Tank and Healer also switch to Necromancer Lord armor, and hopefully Mender Crown if you meet the requirements for it. Now, Terracotta's phase, let me explain how this works a little. Upon entering the boss room, you'll see a ton of random terracotta looking things and large golems. Now, how this works is you will want to not wake up the golems until the terracottas wake up. Once the terracottas wake up, make sure your tank or healer is there in the center of the boss room, healing you guys and keeping you alive, and start to try to damage the terracottas and golems, and really try to wait out this phase if you're a lower kata. This phase can be really hard, so I recommend you have a good amount of healing items so you can survive it. But yeah, anyways, outside of this, there's not too much difficulty with the boss, as the Giants phase and the last phase where it's just Sidon is pretty easy to deal with. Anyways, let's get into the final floor of the base catacombs, floor 7. Alright, if you guys are here, that means you basically made it till the end of the guide, floor 7. Congratulations! You guys can consider yourself at least a mid-game player by now. But if you guys made it to floor 7, I assume you want to get a ton of profit with Necron's handles and scrolls as soon as possible. And I got you guys, but you will need to make some gear upgrades first. So, if you guys are a tank, mage, berserk, archer, healer, any class, you guys will want to upgrade to wither armor. Mage, this means storm armor. Tank, as well as healer, this means golder armor. And any berserk class, this means 3/4 Necron armor with Maxor boots. Now, if you guys can afford it and you are a a berserker archer, get a golden Necron head like I have here. Put Hecatome on that, and that will be really good for you guys. Trust me, do not skip out on this helmet. It is one of the best in the game. But aside from this, if you're an archer, make sure you have a Juju short bow by now, as your spirit bow will not cut it. Additionally, if you're a mage, get a Midas staff if you're Iron Man, but if you're on a main profile, really try to steer away from mage until you have a Hyperion. But if you're on an Iron Man profile, Midas staff will be fine. I've used mine in floor 7, and it's decent, but I would still recommend going a different class. Now, for Berserk and Archer, or mainly Berserk at this point, make sure you have a Felthorn Reaper. Let's go over to here. Felthorn, if I can actually spell it right, Felthorn Reaper. Alright. Yeah, this is 39 million, but guys, on my Iron Man, I'm able to easily run floor 7s with the Felthorn Reaper. Very good overall, and I would highly recommend it. Now, for tanks and healers as well, make sure you have a Mender Crown by now. Mender Fedora will not be cutting it. So yeah, outside of that, basically any DPS class, you will want to pick up a Wither Skeleton pet for bosses, and random gear that you'll need. Make sure to get a Wither Cloak Sword, a Bonzo Staff, and a Jerry Sheen Gun for various stages of the bosses, as well as carry Spirit Leaps on you. All these are going to be really useful for mobility, especially during Terminals phase. And if you guys are not confident with Terminals phase, get a Bonzo Mask as well. That can be really helpful, and honestly, I highly recommend it. Now, this is about all the gear you guys need. I would recommend Catacombs 30 before you start, as anything below Cata 30 is honestly a little risky with floor 7. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the guide, and I hope it helped you out. And this is me, Mugma HS, signing off. Goodbye.